So there's a lot of horrible things happening in the world right now, as I think everybody's aware. Yeah, with the media and our access to social media and influencers, independent ones all over the world, shining a light on all of the atrocities. We got wars, we got epidemics, we got natural disasters, we got evil, corruption, very, very low negative levels of consciousness. And it almost seems like, spiritual warfare, is actually the big war of our time, right? So what do we do about it? We have so many different factions, but nobody's really united. The religions are still very divided. And then some, they don't even understand the potentiality of their own spiritual practices and the work necessary in order to raise their frequency and vibration and their level of consciousness by letting go of the negativity. And it's almost like, that's the battle, is that with our access to the internet and everything at our fingertips, and so much of it being negative, and then we're distracted and constantly scrolling and seeing all of this stuff, and we're getting programmed by more and more negativity, right? So what's the solution, right? We got the new age spiritual community, doing their best, right? Focusing on the astrology and the new moons and the portals and, craving this awakening and this timeline shift so that, a better world can come about. And it's happening for every person that is helping out with that journey. It's making a difference, right? Keeping your vibration high, your energy, your frequency, your level of consciousness, putting love and peace and light into the world. It's necessary. It's about all we could do. So why Hinduism is so important is because they have the numbers of spiritual people. So the dharmic religions are the spiritual religions, right? The other ones are not so much focused on that. It's more of a belief, like you believe in Jesus and you're saved, right? But there's a lot of really angry, vengeful, hateful, Christians that are, doing all sorts of negative things. So they're not really raising themselves. Basically, they're not really doing what Jesus taught. So that's the difference, right? If you just believe in Jesus, that's one thing. Great. Well, anybody can believe in anything. But until you're actually practicing what he taught to practice, which means that he taught to love one another. Well, that's a very high vibration thing. So there's a difference between loving others and wanting to convert them. So that being said, Hinduism, I think, is the greatest opportunity because we've got the numbers of spiritual people. So, what can we do? Well, collectively, Hindus need to come together. I've been seeing a lot of posts. Haven't went into it too much, but about Hinduism is divided. There's no unity there. It's because it's so broad and all expansive, and there's different traditions and sects within it, and they don't even have a centralized authority. So it's not a religion, right? So, and I think that's why it gets taken advantage of and by the other religions somewhat. So something needs to happen. So I'm proposing to any Hindus out there watching to join me. I'm going to be here for one more month in Varanasi. I just came out of a 4-month retreat. I did the Mahakumbh Mela. I was here for Mahashivratri and then Holi, and then that just knocked me out, and I needed to go and do my inner spiritual work and healing. So I'm coming out of that now. So stepping into the next highest version of myself, and that's going to be transformed, as I get on here on YouTube. So now I got to really be, well, who is that? Who's that guy? What can I do? So mission, purpose, yeah, I was given a calling years and years ago, to get people together to meditate. That was the very beginning of this YouTube channel. That was what it was supposed to be. And then, just divinely orchestrated, I ended up with a Hindu audience. And that's no coincidence, right? And then that's why, when the channel started transitioning into that, and then I was like, okay, we're going to end up with a Hindu audience. So our reaction channel was always based on spirituality and Hinduism. We weren't just reacting to anything Bollywood. We were watching Hindu videos just to learn more about Hinduism. And, and also that's what the audience, wanted. So what's the point of that? Like, why did that happen? Well, I knew that eventually we were going to have to come together and meditate, because that's the vision. It's raise the world. Raise the world project now. And Hindus are the audience. And Hindus are the way, right? So I think it's divine. So we'll see where it goes. So that's what I'm going to be talking about and motivated towards. So that being said, I did an Om meditation. So that's going to be the drill. Om meditation, I'm going to try to do it every day at 5. And I don't know where I'll be. It'll be spontaneous. Sometimes in my room probably, sometimes out on the Ghats. So we'll see. But anyways, I did an Om meditation today on the Ghats. We ended up at Tulsi Ghat. So if you haven't done that Om meditation with me, it was a little bit chaotic. But anyways, go click on it. I'll leave it on the screen somewhere at the end. And then do it. Do some Ohms, right? Do the Ohms. And it's my hope that we get the numbers so people can see that, oh wow, there's a whole bunch of people doing an Om meditation together, and then that'll spread. That'll do something to the YouTube gods algorithm, and then there'll be people eventually from all over the world chanting Om together, and then we can raise the vibration, because there needs to be a mindset shift collectively. We need to come into a higher level of compassion and love and peace for each other. And because there's a big problem right now. We've got, the upper classes of society. I'm not saying everybody, but a lot of them are caught up in this greed, right? So I heard about many Western worlds, there's like the Airbnb craze, where rich people, like not even ultra wealthy, but just moderately wealthy, they're buying up homes all over the world, and then they're renting them out to rich tourists. So you got rich tourists going everywhere, and rich people buying up all the property. And it's like the lower and middle classes are suffering. That middle class is dwindling, right? So, but we have the numbers. The middle class and the lower class peoples, like financially in society, we got the numbers. So we got to create a tipping point. Because if enough people raise their vibration, we'll get it above the crucial point of integrity. And also positivity is, it's significantly more powerful than negativity. So, so negative world, that's the challenge, that's the obstacle. So we got to practice, we got to heal, we got to come out of any sort of negativity. When something comes up, you got to do the work, right? You got to do the work. So important. And also when you think about what's the point of being here in this lifetime, everybody wants moksha and liberation. And you go and you bathe in the Ganga, and you go to the Mahakumbh Mela, and you do these practices, but then when somebody triggers you, you get angry and hateful, and you want revenge. Well, that's not the way, because those instances are showing you what you need to work on. So these ritual practices of purifying yourself is symbolic, right? And it's allowing you the good karma to have the opportunities that allow you to do the work that's going to bring about the potential for spiritual liberation, at some point. So, and then not waiting. So thinking that, okay, I could just be however, because when I die, then I got moksha. Well, no, right? You got to be at a certain level of consciousness for that to happen. So, and it's just like any religion. Just by believing in Jesus, you think you're going to go to heaven? Well, no, that's not how that works either, right? So we need to get to those higher levels of consciousness. And the easiest one to be saved in salvation, liberation, moksha, at the time of death would be unconditional love. If you can get there, you're saved, right? And then you got the higher levels of enlightenment, right? So that's the total transcendence of the ego. And that's much more difficult. I know, I tried. And it turned into, kind of a wrong path, in the sense that I was really about denying the ego. But at the same time, the ego was still so suffering from lack and, abandonment issues, childhood trauma, so that it was very difficult. So I was trying to transcend this ego by suppressing it and then squandering my personality and everything that went along with that. So I was just walked all over, ended up in horrible relationship that, it appeared good on the surface from the outside, but internally, no, it wasn't that good. And I take full responsibility. Yeah, it was my fault. I didn't know what I needed to know, but I know it now. So you just got to be grateful for the journey, and you set the intention. So I was fortunate enough, I set the intention early on. Enlightenment as quickly as possible for the sake of all sentient beings, right? So now I know that once I step more fully into unconditional love with boundaries, then I'm safe, right? So even now, I'm like, I got no fear of death, no problem. So bring it on. But in the meantime, then you go, okay, well, what's your mission and your purpose and what's your calling? Well, at the same time, it was like, for me getting all spiritual in the first place and setting up this YouTube channel, and I even had a website at one point in time when I was talking about spirituality, is just this. If it was a world at a higher level of consciousness, then I wouldn't have suffered. I wouldn't have gone through such a hard time as a child. So that was the mindset, right? Back then. So now I know that it was all perfect, just the way that it is, and I actually chose it, right? So so we're choosing our incarnation and our lifetime, and even all of the people that are coming in. You're gonna have certain relationships. Most are gonna be bad in the sense that pointing out things that need to be worked on. And then if you can manage those, then you grow into a more flourishing arrangement. So you got to see them as opportunities, right? Because there's going to be karmic relationships, which are designed for that very purpose. And you either figure it out, and then it can turn into a soul mate relationship, or you come out of it and then you do the work. And it's also taught specifically in the Kabbalistic tradition. So Kabbalah is the Jewish mysticism, and they're teaching that, and probably other traditions as well. But when you come out of a karmic relationship and then you do the work, and then you come into wholeness and fullness, like you don't need anything from anything, and then your next relationship has the potential of being your actual soulmate relationship. So, anyways, not that that's any sort of goal or anything. It's just that that's how it works. So you got to accept your fate. You got to accept your destiny, and then you got to rise up. So anyways, we'll talk about more of that stuff some other time. I got so much stuff to share. So if anybody's willing, thank you. Yeah, subscribe, hit the like button, And then, of course, meditate with me, especially if you're a Hindu. Hindus want it. I just want Hinduism to flourish and rise up and be truly, representative. Once there's this mindset shift, and Hindus are all over the world, right? Then it's like, and I know that there's some very, very highly evolved Hindus, obviously, but there's still a lot of, problems. And then there's a big disparity. And then there's a ton of ultra wealthy, rich Hindus. Like, who's going to be the example for the world, for the wealthy of the world? Because there's got to be a time when some of the wealthy people who aren't evil, they're going to have to step up and help because the governments they can't do it. It's like there's just not enough. You could call it whatever. The corrupt governments of the world, and then the people getting wealthy in that route. And then also when they're rich and they're negative and they're using negative qualities for their wealth generating abilities, then it's a downward spiral, right? Because when you're in the lower levels of consciousness, you keep going lower, right? And then you're stuck. You're doing negative things to satisfy your negative desires, and then it's a perpetual cycle until something really tragic happens, which is hard for rich people. Like, what's going to happen if they're smart but negative and rich? Then there's not much hope. But if you're good, if you're a good, positive, and you want people, you have compassion, and you want less fortunate people to be good, then there's the potential for great transformation. And it's going to be those people. But we got to raise the field. We got to create the awareness of what's the point? Because, also in Kabbalah, when you think about karma, and then everything is from God, and money needs to be flowing through you, right? So you receive, you have a desire to receive for the sake of sharing, and then you help and then spread. So anyways, sky's the limit with India, especially with the level of, Indians are smart, right? Engineers. There's so many problems even amongst Varanasi that can be solved, right? And then you meditate, contemplate with an intention to discover your purpose, and then something will come up, and then you go do that. So anyways, lots to do. But that's my rant. Thank you so much. And we'll see you on the next one. So go meditate with me. Om. Om for the world. Peace.